Hi, and welcome back to Algebra 1. Our goal for today is to continue working with our evaluating numerical expressions using what's called the order of operations, what we can abbreviate and call PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This will serve as our last sort of video that's going to help us for Monday's quiz. So last little bit of review today and tomorrow, and then Monday is a quiz day. If that is a virtual learning day for you, please remember you need to report during your regular scheduled class period time to take that quiz. Your quiz will only be available during your 30-minute window of class. If I come to the folder for week 4 Monday too early, it won't be available, and if I report too late, it won't be available. So period 4, please remember your class period is 11:41 to 12:11. Those are my 9th graders, 11:41 to 12:11. 7th graders, your 7th period block is from 1:20 to 1:50. Please make sure you're reporting at the time of your class on Monday, or you will miss out on your opportunity to take your quiz, and unfortunately your score would go in the grade book as a 0. So please make sure you're doing that on Monday. So our goal for today is to look at a couple of examples where I've been seeing mistakes either on homework or when students are working on their Get More Math points with these numerical expressions. So these are two that are sort of your trickiest types and places where we make common mistakes when using PEMDAS to evaluate a numerical expression. So today we're going to be working in our notebook. This is not, there's no place in our note packet. So I'm going to get out my notebook and I'm going to fill in these two examples so I have them, because when I go to today's review, it's going to be helpful as I navigate through the problems. So 14 minus 3, right next to a bracket. Remember, a number that's side by side with a grouping symbol is a hidden operational multiplication. So my suggestion right away is put something in there that shows that multiplication, because eventually those brackets are going to go away and you still have to show that that number in parentheses or bracket next to each other is multiplication. So 3 times the quantity 6 plus the quantity 5 minus 3 squared plus 7 plus the quantity 18 divided by negative 3. Now, one of the places where I'm seeing mistakes as far as showing work, when I have multiple sets of grouping symbols or I have multiple sets of exponents, we work through those from left to right, just like we would if there was multiple adds and subtracts or multiple multiplies and divides. So in this case, we have two sets, right? We have a set that's a bracket here, and inside of their parentheses, right? So brackets, or I'm going to do the work inside there, and I would do the parentheses part first. And then back here, we have a second grouping of this set of parentheses. Since we have multiple things grouping math, we work through them from left to right. So we would start with this set of brackets. And inside those brackets, we have to follow order of operations, so we would start inside of these parentheses. Now, the other mistake I'm seeing is when I have an exponent like this. Now, this exponent is outside of the little parentheses. So I have to do what's inside of them first. That's different if this exponent was inside attached to the 3, where I would say inside of there I have a subtract and an exponent, I have to do the exponent first. Be careful. We always do what's in the grouping before we deal with anything that's outside of the grouping. So all I'm doing is this. And if the 2 was inside of here, I would have to do the 3 squared first, so just be careful. All right, bring down everything else. 14 minus 3 times bracket 6. I'm going to do the parenthesis part, 5 minus 3 to get a value of 2. And this exponent of 2 has to come down on it. And then bring down the plus 7, the bracket, the plus, the parenthesis, the 18, the divide by, the negative 3, and then the closing of the parenthesis. Whew. All right, we're still working in our brackets. We're not doing anything back here yet. Now we have add, exponent would happen next. So 14 minus 3 times a bracket of 6, a plus 2 squared, which is a 2 times another 2, would give us a 4 plus 7, close the bracket, plus parenthesis 18 divided by negative 3, parenthesis. All right, we're still in our brackets working through our grouping symbols. All that's left in here is add, so we're going to go from left to right. All right, do our 6 plus 4. So 14 minus 3 times bracket. 6 plus 4 gives us a 10 plus 7. We still have our plus, our parenthesis, our 18, our divide by, our negative 3 in our parenthesis. All All right, we're still working through our brackets. We're over here still. We're going to finish now our 10 plus 7. Now that I'm finishing everything inside those not absolute values, inside our brackets, they can go away. All right, so we're going to bring down 14 minus 3 times. I don't need the brackets anymore. Now, I can leave them if I want to leave them there to show that it's multiplication. That would be perfectly fine too. I just don't have to have them anymore. Down here, we now have 17 plus parenthesis 18 divided by -3 parenthesis. All right, we're still not done with our grouping symbols. All we've done is the first set of grouping symbols, so we're going to keep going left to right. Now we're going to this set of grouping symbols. In here, there's only one thing to do. Now, if there were multiple things, we'd have to follow that special order again inside of that group. So 14 minus 3 times 17, a plus. Over here, a positive times a negative, or divided by a negative, would give us a negative, in this case of -6. All right, all we've done so far in order of operations technically would be the letter P for grouping symbols or parentheses or brackets. All right, so now no exponents left that were on the outside, so we're done there. We're looking for multiplies and divides, and if there's more than one, we would go from left to right. So we're starting here. Here's one. All right, and then we would keep going left to right if there were additional multiplies or divides. So 14 minus, we're doing the 3 times 17 part, which would give us a 51, a plus, and we still have a -6. All right, we're going to keep working left to right with all the add and subtract. There are still people going over here and doing this add next. We don't do that. We look for both adds and subtracts, and we work from left to right. We do not skip over subtract to go do add, so be careful. I'm going to go off here to the side because I'm running out of room. We're going to do the 14 minus 51, which would give us a -37. Bring down the plus -6. All right, finish the and subtracts here. Same signs, add them up, keep the sign, we should get a -43. All right, on Monday's quiz, it says I have to show all my steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. One for each line, so make sure you type each individual thing. I'm only allowed to do one thing per new line. Some of you, when there was 2 sets of groupings, did like, all right, I can do this 5 minus 3 at the same time I do this 18 divided by -3, and it may not have messed up your final result, but technically you went a little bit out of order because you did more than one thing in one step, so be careful. All right, number 2, last one for today. There's 2 things that I want to address in this problem. One is we have one big fraction. How do I show my steps? Because there's still some people just giving me random scratch work and then giving me a final answer in the end. So I want to show our proper steps again. And then number 2, what do I do when I have a negative number with a power or exponent? So be careful. All right, so the very first thing I want to do when I have a fraction where there's an order of operations problem on the top and an order of operations problem on the bottom is I have to group it and say I want to make 2 separate problems, but all within one big fraction. And the way to do that is to add grouping symbols of some sort on the top and the bottom. Parentheses, brackets, curly braces. Pick one. Since there's already parentheses here, I'm going to go bigger than that with these square brackets. And some of you, on your homework, when there was already some parentheses there, you acted like you didn't have to still add them. You do. You're creating the biggest set of groupings, and then inside there you might have another grouping, which is okay. Now, your next step is a fraction. Please don't take this over here and that over here and do sort of random scratch problem stuff and then smush it back together. Every step is still a fraction. So we have a fraction bar. We have our brackets on the top. And on this top, we're going to do the first thing we're supposed to do because of PEMDAS on the inside. All right, so on the inside, we have grouping symbols. So right here. So we're going to start in there. We got to do the divide part that's inside of there first. Do the 100 divided by -2, which would give us a -50. And we still have this plus and then our -8 squared. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. All within one step. It's a fraction still. Keep it together. Now, on the bottom, this is a multiply. Number next to a parenthesis is a multiply. And then we have a subtract. So order of operations says we would do the multiplication before we do the subtraction. A negative times a negative will give us a positive result down there, so just be careful. So this is -8 times -6, which is a positive 48. And we still have this subtract 41. All right, we're not done inside of our brackets, so we're going to go to a new step, and the brackets are still going to be there. On the top, we still have brackets, right? We still have multiple things to do inside of here. Now, here's where people are getting stuck on Get More Math. On this step, some of you are typing this into your calculator. -8, caret, up caret, which does your powers, and then your 2, and then your enter. And if you do that, it's going to tell you that the answer is -64, which is incorrect. And that's why some of you are getting that little dreaded pink dot on Get More Math and not understanding why you got stuck. All right, so what you really need to do is, if I have a negative number that has a power, for my calculator to guarantee to give me back the correct answer when I'm dealing with powers, I need to put the parentheses in with my number. Because this is a negative times a negative, right? It's a -8 times a -8. That's the problem, which is going to give us a positive result. So this -8 squared is a positive 64. And if I don't type it like that with the parentheses attached, it's going to tell me that it's -64. So be careful. So 2 ways to get there. I type it in correctly with the grouping. I want the whole thing, including the negative sign, to get squared. Or in my head, I go, a negative times a negative will give me a positive, and then think of what's 8 squared. All right, that would be your sort of shortcut way to get there. All right, on the bottom, there's only one thing left to do. So down there, we can get rid of our brackets. It's just on the top where they still need to be. So 48 minus 41 would now give us a 7 down there. All right, we're not done with our grouping symbols, so we got to keep going there. So new step. -50 plus a 64 would just give us a positive 14, and we still have over 7. Now, some of you are stopping there, but technically all we've done so far in order of operations is the P for the grouping symbols, so be careful. Then I have to go through the rest and say, is there anything else left over? So in this case, there are no exponents. And then we get to our multiply, divide, and we should be saying, yes, this fraction bar represents a divide. Or you could think of it as a simplify. But that would happen with the multiply and divide step of the problem, so be careful. So I want to simplify or divide this out to finish the problem. I'm not going to leave it as 14/7. I could write that in a more basic, more simplified version, which in this case is just 2. Now, sometimes you might get a decimal or a fraction answer there, but you have to finish all the way through doing the divide or what you might think of as the simplifying, so be careful. All right, your job for today is to go to the classwork tab where you found this video and open the Google form. It's going to give you response validation. If you're incorrect, it's going to tell you you're incorrect. Go back to your notebook, retry your steps, relook at your work and see where you messed up. Go back, fix it, edit it, and then retype your response in your computer. You should know that you have 100% before you hit the submit. So please double check your steps in your notebook prior to hitting that submit button. See you guys later.